Today is November 18th, 2023, and this is the hobby now. Now, exactly what's going on now. It's a Saturday, and I had a very busy week, so I was not able to get this regular scheduled video out on Wednesday night. I'm going to try to do that as we move forward. This is also episode 0. Not sure we're going to be able to podcast this or not. We're hoping to move into podcasts in the future. But I've got so much to talk about and what's going on in the hobby now. And I'm, referring to events from the last week, some that just recently happened as well. I'm going to try to get through all these in some type of a good flowing, coherent ramble. I'm going to talk about the Babe Ruth auction. Talk about hobby versus hobby hustlers. I'm going to bring up good life, run good life, run good life, run good life. You say it 3 times, like Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Therapist video. Hot right now. Saturday morning, it's hot. Therapist video is hot. We'll talk about that. The new floor on Vet Autos. Just a little thoughts I have on what Topps has been doing with autographs. Are product bounties good or bad? We saw they have those rookie debut patches, and good conversation I heard about, are these good or bad for the hobby? Live auctions. Really good insight from Neo this week discussing these live auctions, these micro auctions. I've had some issues with them. I'm going to bring to what he talked about to your attention. Will those become comps? What is a comp? Why do we trust comps? Little note, Topps hockey stickers. You think they make them if Connor Bedard isn't around? No. That is just chasing the attention. I understand. If I'm Upper Deck, you should come out with some type of Victor sticker. I mean, I guess what I'm getting this is Fanatics is so big, they can do anything they want and you'll just pay the fine or push the person out of the way. These small companies are in fear for their lives, right? They don't want to take the risk. They can't afford the lawsuits. They can't afford fighting these big companies. At least that's my perception of what I'm seeing. Repacker update. I'm only going to make a quick comment about repacks. I went out last week, this time Saturday, went to the Collectible King show, met a cool vendor, really interested in talking to him, and then I found out he's a repacker. And let's leave it at that. I don't want to be around repackers. I know they're everywhere. You know how I feel about them. I don't like them. So that's the topics we're going to talk about today. That's what we're going to discuss. Oh, and we're also going to talk, forgive me, I got a dog in the background. Talk about my hobby hustle, what I'm doing. I've been using Mascot this week, and this is not an endorsement. I'm not sponsored by Mascot. I'm just a guy who uses tools and wants to share with you how I'm using them. I think that's important. I'm loving Mascot because what I do is I primarily acquire my cards through buying in breaks or opening up personal boxes. I'm very targeted about what I go after. And then from those cards, I plan to grade them. I'm not a rush grader. I'm a patient grader. So I try to find cards I think are going to hold value. I have been burned in the past by grading stuff that shouldn't have been graded. But my goal is to grade stuff. Once it's graded, then I sell it on eBay. Primarily sell it on eBay. That's actually, let me take it back. Of the platforms, public platforms, I primarily use eBay. But most of my sales, honestly, have been dealers, other collectors, where I sell it to them directly through Facebook or IG or shows. That's my number one way where I've sold most of my stuff. But eBay is my primary platform that I use externally. I also have StarStock and ComC and a bunch of other accounts. We'll talk about that later. But let's get into the hobby drama news. Okay, I'm going to touch the sports card therapist first because it's just so fresh and new. And if you're listening to the video, you might want to talk about this first. I'm not going to hit this from the same perspective as everybody else. Let me just say this. I have tried for over a year to build a dialogue with Rob, the sports card therapist. I've texted him, messaged him. I've been on his block list, been off his block list. I would like to talk to them. I'd like to have a conversation with them. I'd be happy to do a collaboration with them. Be public or private. I don't care. I remember him coming out early as being, oh my goodness, hold on a second, as being a Card Ladder spinoff, right? He was a friend of Josh and Chris McGill, and he'd have them on his channel a lot. And that's when I was very critical of him in the beginning. I was like, hey, do you know much about Josh and Chris? Do you know what these guys have done? And I'm sure Josh and Chris were like, stay with me, Ziggy. Ziggy's a nut. Because that's what they tell everybody. So I could tell you, he's coming out of the gate. There was probably some bad conversations between the two of us because of that background. I remember watching him with, God, who's the guy? They did Slab Talk. I've just been watching Rob for a long time. And one thing that I have noticed about Rob, and I do not mean this to be a negative thing, okay, I'm just being brutally honest. Rob's about Rob. And Rob is really good at promoting Rob, like really good at it. If you dig a little deeper, it's a little interesting. I mean, Rob's a father of two. He's a counselor, I believe, at a prison or a jail. I know that from listening to him and Ken. Ken was a teacher at the jail. One of my favorite quotes is, one of the best guys I met in jail or met in the prison or something like that. And they both work there. They didn't go there, which I think is just a great little inside story. What am I getting to this? Recently, Rob came out with a video on Instagram confessing to him basically not paying for 2 large Eli Manning cards. And a lot of people are, giving him heat. I'm giving him heat about it. I made some comments on there. I'm like, here's one of my favorite comments. Can you give us your eBay account so those of us who want to can block you from buying in the future? That's a fair question, right? I mean, if you're going to go out and non-pay on 2 large items and then come out and tell everybody about it, I think we should know your account so we can block you if we want to. It would be our choice. I really feel like the only reason Rob made that video was for likes, subs, views. Like it feeds the engine. He can profit off it. I could be wrong, but I find that that's probably the #1 reason he did it. I don't think he actually did it thinking he was going to get 100% apology from his 15,000 Instagram followers. I don't think he was expecting the people to come out and cheer for him. There were people who did cheer, take a side. There were a lot more people who were grilling him for it. So I think, I can't imagine in his head when he put the video out, he's like, yeah, I'll do this and I'll just be forgiven and I'll look good and everything will be fine. I'm pretty sure one of the goals in his head was like, I'm going to do this and boy, I'm going to get a lot of likes, popularity, engagement, whatever it is. I'm going to get more of what I want. And I say that because I think one thing we have to realize in the hobby is that people don't go away. There's no crime. There's no punishment. What Rob did, who gives a shit? I mean, personally, Rob, I've never done it, but if I did it, I wouldn't get on a video and tell people about it. I just shut up and move on, okay? You feel bad about it? Personally, go to the individual, make them whole. Reach out to them directly, make them whole. Do something individually, make it whole. When people want to do stuff publicly and tell everybody about it, they do it. Like one of my favorite things I love is, I'm giving stuff to the kids. Here I'm doing something. Do it privately. Just shut up and do it. But I really think he did that for attention. And again, I'm not knocking him for it, but I want us, the audience, to remember that. Like, a lot of times, influencers will do anything they can just to get your attention. It reminds me of Donald Diego, who was on live and she shielded an account and she oopsed it and just it went away. But we got a lot of talk about it, a lot of buzz about it. In fact, I know her subscriber numbers went up. I would say because of it, okay? Because I wasn't following her, didn't give a crap about her and her Pokemon. But now she's on my shielded list. Personally, I just don't get it. Another comment came up. I saw John and Jeannie put in the video, which was a video AIH did. Great video AIH did, because I guess Rob took his video down, but AIH kind of showed the bidding, showed the history, kind of said, I don't understand. Like, I guess here's my thing. If you feel it's a shield bid, you can't just not pay. Okay, then you felt like a shield bid. Resell it. See if you're right. I don't know. But one of the comments was, if you listen to Rob's video, I don't think you can, is he talked about how, first of all, he advertised he was going after these big cards. He apparently made an advertisement, you make a mega bid. If you do that, I think you're basically asking for sharks to come after you. Like, I'm not justifying it, dude. Quietly do what you're going to do. Why do you have to tell me, I'm going after this card, I'm going to mega bid it. Look at me, I'm a big flying, you know what I'm saying? So by doing that, I think he put himself in a bad situation. He's learning that right now, right? I mean, personally, I don't know the value of a gold Eli Manning card. I don't think it's his rookie card. I don't think it's worth very much money at all. But hey, who am I? I don't care. Right? Oh, the mega bid comment. That's what I want to talk about. So he makes this, I made a mega bid comment. And John, me and Judy said, what is a mega bid? And to me, a mega bid is basically me getting attention. It's me basically, hey, look at me, I made a mega bid. Because honestly, there's no button in eBay for mega bids. Just that's the way it is. You bid or you don't bid. I don't want to beat this horse up too much because I made a comment on the stream as well about what he did. I said, here's my other comment to it was, did you think, Rob, that because you're making the public apology and you have 15,000 subscribers, the community should forgive you? If that's the case, what happens to the guy who only has 1 follower or no followers at all, and he shield bids somebody or no pays on something? Can he just make a video and go, I'm sorry I did this, and post it on YouTube and we forgive him? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, why were you doing that? And I left a little comment that I think it's because of the company that you hang out with. And I'm specifically talking to Josh Johnson and Chris McGill. I'm not talking about all the other Wolfpack members. I like the other Wolfpack members, but I will say, I feel like the Wolfpack members were really sheep and I don't mean this in a mean way, guys. I'm saying you were very good hobbyists that Rob collected you so that you can help build his empire, his persona, his voice. And that's fine. Maybe you're all about that. I want to be me. I just again, I look back to his coaching tree. You know, Rob used Chris and Josh a lot when he started his channel. They're one of his biggest guys that came on like every month promoting him. He was on crossover. He, you know, uses a crossover to get attention. So just calling it out. So my points on there is, Rob, if you watch this video, I'm sure you learned from this. I still like to talk to you. I don't give a shit what you did, but I won't forget. Oh man. Okay, so let me hit on a couple of things before we get to more. I'm definitely not doing this in the order of good, bad, and ugly. Just kind of going around the circle here. Let's talk about that Babe Ruth auction. I only want to get a quick moment on this. I want to bring to everybody's attention and remind everybody, because it was verified, that this Babe Ruth that is up for auction, that is, I think, over $6-7 million, will have crushed the records of the most expensive baseball card to ever be sold. And I've heard some great stories about why this card is special. It's like 10 of them. Heard a really good story about Babe Ruth and about how he got the name the Babe. Oh, God, who was that? Sports Card Histories that told me that. Because when he was picked by the manager used to say, hey, that's, you know, the manager's babe. That's the manager's little baby. And the Babe name stuck. And here we are 100 years later, Babe Ruth. Pretty cool. 100 plus years. Anyway, that auction is the same card that Collectibles sold 1% of it back in 2020. Fractionalized it. Which, in my opinion, means that somebody was probably sitting on that card, sharing it in the museum, like, hey, I got this really good, nice cards, and they'll be great. And then, because of the fractionalization, because of the market hype, everything going on, maybe their life changed, whatever it is, like, dude, I can sell this card for $10 million. I'm getting the hell out of here. Like, I don't blame them. I really don't. Like, I'd sell the card in a heartbeat if I had that card. Like, I'd never have that card, though. Come on, it just wouldn't have happened. So, I'm curious to watch what it sells for, because clearly, Collectibles valuation was way. Like, could you imagine if you still had a percentage of that share? Your share would be up to the, I don't know, 40, 50%. I don't even know what it's worth, but it would be going up. And I also think it's interesting in this down market, because you know the chuckleheads are going to come out talking about this record-breaking sale when it happens and how this is great for the hobby. Again, I don't give a shit. Don't care. I think it's cool. It's interesting. Doesn't affect my life. Doesn't change my day. Right? Collectible, use something like that to influence a lot of little people like myself. Right? I got into fractional at one point. I knew then. I was like, this pot is hot. It will burn my hand. And I still fucking touch the pot. But that's what we do in life, right? So I'll be watching the Babe Ruth auction. I think it's already under auction, and we'll see what closes in a few weeks. We'll bring that back. It's a topic to discuss. Another thing I saw recently, popped out yesterday, we had the MVPs announced, Acuna and Ohtani. Acuna and Ohtani. Acuna and Ohtani. Seems like that. Acuna Matata. And a wonderful day. Anyway, I saw Topps, and they're smart at this. They drop so much Topps Now stuff. And I've seen Neo talk about this. This Topps Now stuff has more value than people think. I even watch another channel where the guy buys this stuff and he opens them, just chasing those rare cards. And he's been doing pretty well on it. It makes me think to myself, maybe I buy a bunch of these Topps Now cards and chase those autographs, those limited relics or whatever. There's money being made. This is also proof that the hobby's very strong. People are buying that junk up and they're liking it. But what I saw yesterday was Ohtani and Acuna had Acuna. They both had their autos for sale on Topps Now. And I want to say this blew my mind. The floor price on just buying an auto, right? And there was 49 or lower. So that doesn't mean there's a total of 49, because they probably did 49, they did a 12, they did a 10, they did a 1 or 5, whatever it is, but probably less than 100 autographs. Ohtani's are $2,000 and Acuna are $600 a piece. Let me just repeat that. $2,000 and $600 a piece. Were they worth that in the wild? These aren't vet autos. I mean, these are MVP autos, whatever, but it just seems to me like what has definitely happened in the last 20 years, since 2020, is that the value of vet autos, the floor is up, right? Because I'll give you an example. Back in the day, I'm talking the day like 2019, 2018, 2017, a very popular player, Kobe Bryant, his rookie card, vet auto, was roughly $100 or $200 cash. Now it's thousands. Now, of course, he passed on. But I would also say that a Magic Johnson, a Larry Bird auto were also under $100. They were less than Kobe for vet autos. Now today, they're several hundreds of dollars. That's come up because there's more interest, I think. But I also think there's been a floor created, right? When Topps is able to basically say right now, in their opinion, an Acuna is worth $600 and a Otani's worth $2. Doesn't mean all autographs are worth that, but it definitely puts a very interesting floor on them. I'm going to say Acuna autographs are at least $250. You have any Acuna autographs, it's $250 bill, $250 in cash. And it sounds to me like Otani's autographs are, I'm going to give it a half the value, $1,000 to give it a Otani autograph, non-rookie, nothing special, but an Otani autograph. Is it $1,000 now? Victor Wembanyama is another example, right? I think his autographs right now, the lowest you can get one of his autographs. Now, this is his rookie year, not rookie card, but rookie year is like $4,000 or $5,000. So the one thing I will say is that Topps has done in the last few years, and I don't know if I should not be unhappy about this. I kind of wish I had all my vet autos still, but they have created a market where vet autos hold value. Now, I know one of my friends might be thinking, does that mean the vet refractors will hold auto? Will hold value? I don't think it will hold the same value. I don't. But is this a false floor we've said? Will these floors crash down 4 years from now after Acuna signed dozens and dozens of different products and stuff? Will his value be less than 500? Will Otani's value be under 1,000 in the future? Will Michael Jackson, what's his name? LeBron James, will their autos go down now that he's signing for Topps? Logically, you would say yes, but I warn you, don't use logic in the emotional hobby. Just something to keep your eye on. The floor, these new floors of these vet autos. Now, turn a little bit here from floor autos to product bounties. Are they good or bad? I was listening to the Hype. I love the guys at the Hype. These are Mojo Break, the Breakers. And they were talking about these autos. In fact, who else that I heard talking about this? I think it was, somebody talked, it was Filmington. Both of them brought up these bounties on these autos. Mojo talked about, are these good or bad, right? Putting a $150,000 bounty on the Volpe, $100,000 on the Walker. It's not, I could go back. There's been what's his name? Drew Jones was $250,000. That clearly was a good bounty to someone to pay out on. A few things. These are coming from David Adams or Steel City or somebody like that. I think it's David Adams. And one of the things that came up was, are these really coming from Topps Fanatics? Are they giving promotion money to these companies to help them sell their products and they're kicking that back to the consumer? I don't know. I don't think it's important. I don't really care. But what I do care about is I do think it's creating false floors, right? Is every debut rookie card that's coming out, that there's 90 of them, are they all worth at least $1,000? So it was one of the discussions that I remember Mojo guys talking about. What's the floor? Is $800 a floor? Is that $1,000 a floor? Where are these cards in the future? When some of these kids aren't even playing anymore and they're complete busts, are those rookie debut patches still that expensive? Very similar to the first Bowman Superfractors, and that was part of the argument. Will these cards become the new Superfractor? Will people think they're better? I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. I do see it's a great way to promote and push product. I'm almost looking forward to, like, every time a new product comes out, to wonder, hey, what's the bounty? Who's putting the bounty on it? As a gambler, I think I have to admit I like it, because when I open these products, I do think about, hey, could be me. I think that's part of the new modern hobby. In fact, it made me think to myself, I was watching, I think it was on Instagram or Twitter, somebody posted they had the Otani Superfractor All-Star Game card. They pulled out of a box with their son, and they said, my son and I are super excited. That's so awesome. And my first thought about this is I totally understand that. I remember when I hit big cards with my sons, we were super excited about it too. But I want to think about, what is that message we're sending? What is the repercussion? And did we make a collector or did we make a gambler out of a kid? Here's what I'm saying about that. When my kid and I are opening cards, and we're like, hey, chasing a rookie, or something, like, hey, cool, this is a card you liked, or this is your favorite team, or this is your favorite color, right? When Pokemon, they like stuff because it's their favorites, right? Most of the time, the kid is not aware that the card will have a bounty, a lotto-like valuation. But think about it, if you pulled like that Superfractor Otani, or you pulled one of these, rookie debuts with your kid in his mind, like, oh, it's a cool card, Dad. Can we have it? And you're, as a dad, going, son, we're going to sell this card because we're going to get a lot of money from it. I'm going to assume that probably 9 out of 10 times that's going to happen, right? Even if you're a great collector and you love collecting with your kid, and you hit a card that's worth a ridiculous amount of money because there's a bounty on it, logic in your head's and like, look, we need to sell this, son. You're not going to sit there and tell your son, he goes, well, I love the Volpe card so much, Dad. Can I just play with it? You can say, no, son, I'll buy you some other ones because I'm going to sell that one for $150,000. And see, that's what I'm wondering, like, are these bounties, they're basically lotto tickets, right? And then when these lotto tickets are opened with our kids, are we not turning our kids into gamblers? You know what I'm saying? We're not turning them into collectors. And is that bad? I don't know. I'm a father. My oldest son just turned 18. My other son's 16. They're both very active in sports. They both did a lot of fantasy football, and they both have interest in gambling. And they see it everywhere, right? It's everywhere. They talk about it. We talk about it. And I think back to, did I start that fire with sports cards? Or is it just in their blood because they're my kids? I don't know. Those are my thoughts on the bounties. Are these bounties good or bad? I don't know. I look forward to them. I know that if I hit a bounty, I would sell it because I know the card is not worth what the people are going to come here, are willing to, or put the bounty at. Bounties, floors, hobbies changing. That's another thing. The hobby is changing. You heard somebody talk about it. There are no experts in the hobby. I agree with that. I think that was a sports card once again. Javed said that there are no sports card experts, although I would argue I feel like I'm very knowledgeable of it, not because I'm an expert, but because I know who experts in certain niches are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there are experts in certain areas. I think Filmington is an expert in baseball. I think he knows baseball product really well. Like Step in the Box, and they're great baseball. I don't know if we use an expert, but professional, knowledgeable. And then there's some that aren't, right? That don't know basketball. They're stronger in baseball than they are in basketball or something like that. So experts. I think it's about knowing experts. If the more people you know, and I'm just getting mauled here by my German Shepherd. Okay. Next topic in our 30-minute podcast. Happy now. Live auctions. This was brought to my attention by Neo. I think he did a great job of this week. Now, I'll say live auctions have been on my radar for a while. When I saw live auctions being used at whatnot, I wanted to make some type of spoof video. I wanted to call out the insanity of this fucking micro auction shit, which is basically, I'm going to put it on for sale. Hey, here's my card for sale. And here's a 1-minute timer. Start the bidding at 1. It's going to close. Every time you bid, 10 seconds get added, 10 seconds get added. And you hype this up to where it gets sold over its value. And Neo made some great examples of why things sell like that, either for more or less in these micro auctions. The number one reason I believe they sell for more is because it's so easy to shill bid these. I mean, it's so easy. If I'm sitting in a room and I know there's a guy in there who's a whale, or if you see the backyard break story about they have employees in the other room, it's so easy to have somebody else in that micro auction just hitting the bid button, and having somebody chase it. And if they feel they stop and hit a certain threshold, or if they get caught with it, they just eat it because they're part of the system that's going to let them off the hook. There's just so many problems with these little live micro auctions. To me, they are bad. There's nothing good about it. Like, do you go to a bar and the bartender pulls out a little thing, goes, hey, the beer's going to be starting at $1, but in the last minute, you got to keep bidding it up. No, we don't do that. Like, where else do we use micro auctions? I can't think of a place. You guys let me know down in the comments below. Where else are micro auctions effective, useful, valuable, needed, have utility? I just don't like them unless you're the guy running the damn things. I made a comment about this where I watched, I think it was Hitman Breaks, and I watched RunGoodLife in this, and I watched him continue to be bidding in almost every one of the spots. And my perception of this, which you can go back and look at the tape, Hitman came out and said, hey, the average price in this is about $108. These are great spots, valued about $108. And every time it got to 108, these things were over that. And I saw RunGoodLife's name in several of those bids, not every one of them, but several. And he's made comments about how you don't know how close I am with my guys in the community. I know a lot of these breakers help each other out, right? They'll buy spots. When a break can't fill, they'll come in and fill the other breaker spot. Why? Because they know they're not paying full price. So the breakers are going to come fill their spot. It's kind of like if you go to a poker room and you're sitting at the table and you realize that 5 of the players all play together and they know each other really well, and they're not going after each other in big pots, but they're going to cut you apart like a fish. That's exactly what happens in these little communities, these environments. I do not like it. I don't support it. I wish there was a way we could call it out, or I wish there was something that would stop it, but I don't see it happening. It's an example, in my opinion, of what I call bad breaking, right? When you're using these little micro auctions and you're using your friends in there, it's not creating a fair environment. And I will say this, I'm a huge fan of breaking. I think breaking is one of the best things in the hobby when it's done properly, when it's done correctly. When the guys are opening the boxes, they're charging a little bit of money to do that, and they're not trying to grift you with some scam and some duck race bullshit and join my club crap. It's just bad. The other thing that Nia brought up about these micro auctions is that these numbers, apparently eBay is going to start including them as comps in Terapeak data. which I haven't looked for yet. I'm interested to see that. I'm wondering if it'll be separate from the live data, or will the live auction micro data be smaller? Like, for example, if let's pull up, what card do I have here? My Color Blast here. Will this Color Blast sell for more in live auctions? If it does that show up in Terapeak? Does it show up a little L next to it saying, hey, it was sold in a live auction for $800 versus $500 on a buy it now or something like that? You know, same thing, like, that's going to have an impact. And also this too, what data tools are collecting that? Are the data tools collecting it? Are they going to differentiate the difference between these live micro auctions and the longer auctions? I think the whole live auction thing, you think shill bidding's bad right now on eBay? It is worse in these micro auctions. Thanks, puppy. Okay, drop it. And again, I applaud Neo for bringing that to everybody's attention. It will impact people in the comps. Now, again, I think it's interesting because it impacts people who are buying the singles. I don't buy the singles, I sell them. So I've always sold under comps, not always, but most time. So I'm just, going to keep my eye on how these micro auctions impact the rest of the hobby. I want to talk a little bit about hobby hustle in a moment. We're going to come back to Run Good Life. Should I talk about Topps hockey stickers? If I haven't, let me just remind you guys, Topps hockey stickers are out. Kind of petard. It's crazy to me. They're chasing that. Like, it shows you Topps will go into anybody's backyard and take a poop. They don't care. There's no boundaries. Is that good or bad? I don't know. As a consumer, I don't know. I don't know. But it makes me think again, like it's not going to get better. In fact, when you look at the lawsuits, there was the recent news that the lawsuit WWE and Panini is being settled out of court. I think Fanatics was involved in that, helped spark that. We're not going to find the details, but I would assume that most of these court cases with Panini and Fanatics will settle. I don't think they're going to go to a final court battle over years for the NBA, the NFL. I think there will be a settlement in the future. I think that's why I do think you're going to see NBA Chrome license come out this year. I think you'll see NBA or NFL Chrome come out license this year. But you also might see Panini products this year. You might see an overlap where both companies make products this year. Is that good or bad for the hobby? I don't know. Because listen to people talk about Prism football. I will tell you, there are products that I chase and breaks that I will target and go after. Prism football is one of those. I will definitely be targeting Prism football breaks this year. I'm not going to share that information after that I do my breaking and where I go after them and who I buy from and sell from and what teams I do, but Prism football is on my radar. End of December, and real quickly on that, I'll talk about this more at the end, but what I mean by that is I will spend a certain amount of money that I will use to allocate and buy breaks, and then I'll allocate a certain amount of money to grade those cards, and as those cards come in, I'll send them up to grading, and then when they come back, I'll be selling them. Now, in December, I'm expecting that I would have my inventory back by probably the spring. I will not rush grade stuff unless I get some massive card. So I'm really positioning myself for the summer and the fall of next year, which again, I'm a little bit different in my selling strategy. I'm more patient than I am, rush to judgment type of thing. Those hockey stickers, man. I want the upper deck to get into the game too, baby. You already lost. I'd love to talk to upper deck and say, what do you guys think, man? I just feel like you guys are sitting on the sideline and your hands are tied. Why didn't you use Michael Jordan more often? Why didn't you use LeBron more often? During 2020, 2021, why weren't you making more products? I mean, I understand COVID and resources, but you had some of the best stuff in the hobby and you seem to have done nothing with it. That state. So again, WWE, Panini settling, and I think you look for more settlements. Oh, does remind me, both my information I get on legal stuff comes from Paul Lasco, the legal attorney for the hobby, or name that. He did mention that we're supposed to be hearing news on the Spiegelman-Goldman case. This is where the card porn got in. Goldman didn't sell the LeBron card. I'm cheering for Spiegelman's, or Spellman's, or who the hell you are. I'm cheering against Golden, and card porn. Don't really give a shit. Doesn't really affect me, but it'd be interesting to see what happens in that lawsuit. That'd be shit. Should be getting that information very, very soon. Last thing I'm going to talk about, last topic of conversation is going to be talking about hobby versus hobby hustle. And I'm going to tie in here my buddy, Run Good Life. So last Friday, this is a little bit over a week ago. I think I talked about this last week. Mike Baseball Collector came out talking about burnout. He's burned out in the hobby, burnout. And then Danny Black came out and talked about burnout. Him and John Newman talk about burnout in the hobby, burnout. And there's a couple other people talking about burnout. And first thing I noticed was it was the same cluster, same clique talking about it. It was what I refer to as the bench clear clique, right? Your bench clear people are talking about hobby burnout, which is kind of interesting to me because a lot of them are collector based and you didn't expect them to get burned out. But when you dig a little deeper, I think this really comes down to what I refer to as hobby hustle versus hobby hustler. If you enjoy the hobby, you like chasing products, you like going out, buying stuff. I'll come back to Lurkana in a minute. If you enjoy that, this hobby is not burned out. There's so many damn things going on. There's so many opportunities. There's so many fun things happening. But if you are a guy who makes a living in the hobby as a hustler, you're probably making less money. And you're probably doing as much work, if not more work, to get the money you were making before. So, example, Danny Black, who runs a group, I forget the name of the group, and they do a bunch of articles, and he has a daily little update thing. And he has 55 advertisers. I mean, his is a business. Danny runs a business. He talked about how he's getting burned out of it. I bet you are, because my assumption is I don't think you're seeing the expected traction you thought you'd get from views. I don't think you're getting the attention you thought you'd get from articles. And I assume that your sponsors probably aren't very happy with the returns because you've made it a business. You burned it out, right? It's not a hobby to you anymore. Maybe it never was a hobby to you, right? That's some of the things I think about some of these guys. Some of these guys claim that they're hobby people, they're collectors. Look, you're a hobbyist collector. Be brutally honest, man. Don't do the sponsorship thing. Why do you need to do sponsorship things? You're doing it because you want money, and you say, "Oh, well, I want to just pay back for my cards I'm buying." No, it's not. You're a hustler. You're trying to hustle, and that's great. But again, recognize that. And I recognize it's the hustlers that are burned out, and that actually makes me feel good because I think we need to burn more of them out. Right? We need to get rid of some of these guys who are just here to make money. I'll come back to Mike, baseball card collector. Big fan of Mike. I like Mike. But he is part of Bench Clear Media / Chasing Cardboard. They're doing a lot more buying and selling than he's ever done before, right? He's involved with Ty Wilson, and Ty's doing a great job. Love the Chasing Cardboard stuff. I watched that video the other day about him talking to the guy for the funeral. That was really a weird video, by the way. Some stuff I think to myself, what is your purpose? It's clear to get, I don't know. Anyway, I look at that and think to myself, I think if Mike was not involved, and Mike, you can answer this or not, if you were not involved in all that chasing cardboard stuff, would you be burned out? If you're just still doing what you do, making your little channel, and I don't mean little, you have a big channel, making your channel, putting your videos out, chasing your Hall of Fame autographs and enjoying baseball with, she blinded me with refractors and card cutter, would you be burned out? I think that's part of the problem. That's just my assumption. I don't know. Because I'm not burnt out in the hobby. I get burned out on other things, but I don't get burned out in the hobby. Sometimes I wish I get burned out in the hobby because I just walk away. Sometimes I want to walk away. I'm like, damn it, I just got to get on the damn YouTube again. Or I can't believe they did that. Or wow, that's going to be super cool. That's really awesome. Oh my God. There's so much stuff going on. It's just so damn hard to stay away from the damn hobby. I want to talk about hobby hustler. I want to turn attention to hobby hustler, Run Good Life. Run Good Life this week sent me an Instagram message, which I reposted on my YouTube short. Hold on a second. So Run Good Life sent me an Instagram message about how he's heard me talking about his name, and if I don't take his name, what is it? The Will Smith thing. Don't put my name in your mouth. Don't put Run Good Life in my mouth. Basically threatening to sue me, which I said, fuck you, Run Good Life. Bring it, you little fucker. Let me explain to you why. Whether or not he shilled those auctions I referred to, that's up for debate, but there's a video on it. And I bet you those other breakers can talk a little bit. If you wanted to put them under a fucking legal review, have them sworn into testimony, ask them about the kickbacks that might be happening between these breakers, I'm sure they'd want to do that, right? Run Good Life. So run your goddamn mouth. But here's what really bothers me at Run Good Life. I used to be a big fan of his stuff. I used to watch his stuff. He used to be just a hobbyist, right? He'd open stuff, he'd break it, he'd sell it on ComC. I think he was a ComC sponsored, content creator early on. But somewhere as his popularity grew, like many people in the hobby, he decided he's going to be the best breaker in the world. And he started breaking. That's great. A lot of people break. I think that's wonderful. Anybody can break. How do I say this? Last year, I guess it was, with his powerful breaking community, I think he had 25,000 subscribers, whatever it was. He got in trouble because he basically posted a video where he was slamming, I can't remember, I think it was David Adams. It might have been Steel City. You tell me which is right or wrong. But he slammed one of them, basically accusing them of sending him bad packs, that they were filling the packs. And And the video we all cheered about. In fact, I remember Sports Card Radio put up this, yeah, I'm glad he's calling out this bullshit, loaded packs. These distributors are sending the wrong shit to people and not being fair. And we all felt like that was part of it. Then RunGoodLife came out of the video a few days later. And I think the video still is up. I don't know. I haven't looked. I don't really care. Where he apologized. And he had to say in this video that I think, and again, let's watch the video. I don't want to misquote this, but he sent some threatening email to the distributor or the purchaser or the company who sold the stuff saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to make a video. I want blank, blank, and blank, which was received as a form of extortion. So he made a forgive me video. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I should have done this video. That is RunGoodLife. That is him. He's raw. He is him. He is selfish. He's about himself. And he'll throw anybody he can under the bus for his selfish greed. That's the way I look at it. I don't like his breaks because if you have that much shit to give away, that many free passes, and you can win this and that, that means your margins are way too damn high. Let me just say that if you're buying into breaks and the breaker's sitting there giving stuff out to people left and right, and he's got little races on the side and promos and memberships, he's making too much money. He's making too much money on the margin. He's opening a fucking box of cards. He's supposed to sort the cards and ship them to you securely. That's all he's supposed to do. That's what a breaker does. Not trying to knock it. The other key thing breakers do is they allocate. They get access to the product. I'll give him credit for that. So maybe like back in the day, he'd hustle, he'd go out to the stores and get it. Now I don't think he does that. You can see by his what do I say? By his demeanor. I don't think he does much running around to get the stuff now. He just sits there and opens it. So I remember him for doing that. I also remember him for the repacks that he made, the repacks that I called out, the repacks that I gave him grief about. And his response to the repack was, my repacks have great value. My repacks are full of wonderful hits. I have a checklist. Great. Go look at his repack list right now. Go find that checklist and look at all the stuff he sold you and how it's all crashed in value. And the reason I say that, everybody says, well, the whole market's down, Ziggy. Everything's down. I know that, but that's why repacks are criminal. Okay, so what a repack is somebody selling stuff at the current or assumed market value, knowing that the cards in the packs are likely to go down, right? You can put a card in there, steal it, and if it doesn't get open for 4 months or 5 years, whatever it is, well, I didn't know at the time I repacked it, it had a high value. Where have we heard that story? We heard that story from Justin Gamble. When he got called out for a card that was worth $20 in an $800 box, he told everybody, well, when I put it in there, it was worth $300 or $400, so the floor was higher. That is the problem with repacks, guys. They're criminal. They should be illegal. So, RunGoodLife, I will still state that I think you're a terrible repacker, and I'll state that I saw that you were bullying other businesses in the hobby, and I've seen you involved in suspicious bidding behavior in live auctions. I'll state that. Happy to go talk to a lawyer about it if you want to. I'll send you my address. I'd be happy to hear you defend all those things. Talk about them. Talk about how you did or didn't do it. Disclose that you know you're not involved in these micro whatever these other auctions. Just do that. Here's why you won't. Your biggest fear, and what you'll argue, and what you probably tell your lawyers, that he's going after my livelihood. He's going after my income. Dude, what did you do before you were a breaker? Did you have a job? Did you actually work? I don't know. But just because COVID made you a breaker does not give you the right to treat the rest of the hobby like shit. And that is what drives me crazy about some of the hobby hustlers out there. They justify their behavior. Well, it's okay to make repacks. So I got to make money. I got all these no bidders. But here's a good example. A lot of times breakers do repacks because they get non-payment on a lot of breaks they sold. They oversold some guy, $500 for a break that he gets nothing in. The guy does a chargeback or doesn't pay the break fee, and he disappears. He ghosts the breaker, and the breaker's stuck there with the product. So, well, I got to repack it because it's not my fault. It's this guy's fault. So I'm going to repack and get the value back. That is one of the dirty secrets of the hobby. Individuals who make their living in the hobby will do anything and justify their behavior anyway. And since there are absolutely no rules, there's no punishment for the shit you can get away. It's okay. And this is why I'd say I appreciate people who are honest, hardworking businessmen in the hobby. And then I loathe those that aren't. And I'll make this last comment too on this. What you'll find is when somebody does screw up, the defenders of that person screwing up are often guilty of similar acts. Okay. On going back to the Rob Sports Card Therapist thing, one of the defenders of him, I don't know who the guy is, but I said to him, this is the problem, dude. You're going to tell me, and his comment was, my faith in Jesus Christ implores me to forgive. I cannot believe you put that comment in an Instagram in regards to a guy show bidding a card. Your faith in Christ implores you to forgive. I'll just leave it at that. Look, We have so much shit going on in this world where people can't forgive each other, they hate each other, like kill each other. Politically, we can't get along. But you're going to forgive a guy simply because he screwed people over in eBay. Makes me think to myself, you probably screw people over too. And that's why you're willing to forgive, right? Does that make sense? Like, so let's close with some positive stuff. Let me share with you what I'm doing. And a couple of quick stories. So I did see Jeff Wilson's post on spending $400,000 on sports cards for his show, or for his store. And it was really interesting to me to listen to him talk to the guys who are buying stuff and their strategy. And one of the comments they made was, normally I buy stuff to sell 2 weeks later. This time I have to buy stuff that's selling in January. So I have to think about timings of that and how difficult that is. And it made me realize how in my opinion, you have novice people who are running your business there. If they're only seeing in 2-week windows, that's great, but you need to be thinking bigger and further. I also made a comment there. It was me spending $400,000 buying singles at probably, let's say 50% comp, let's say 70% comp, whatever. Buying singles, which are declining assets that are only going to go down over time to fill your inventory, I think is foolish. I understand you had to do it, you had to get some cards, whatever, but there's a much better way. In fact, one thing that I even left as a comment that I would argue, and I'm going to talk about this now, is that I think you would have been better off spending $100,000 in breaks. Of the $400,000, I think you would have made more money on the $100,000 in breaks. Now, let me just clarify this, because everybody's like, oh, Ziggy, you're a fucking idiot. I'm not saying go out and buying random breaks on the most expensive breakers who have all the fluff and bullshit expenses. I'm talking about if you were to go, there are certain breakers, I'm not going to name their names because I use them and I don't want you to know who they are. I'll give you an example. I think it's Real Sports Cards. They do great baseball breaks. If you were to allocate, I don't know, $1,000 buying in on Chrome Baseball, Arizona, or Orioles only, just those two teams, Orioles and Arizona in Chrome Baseball, $1,000 and as many PYT breaks as you could, I think you'd make more money off that $1,000 than you would buying $1,000 in finished cards. And my argument for that is people say, well, no, you don't get anything. In a product like that, you're going to hit a lot of base, you're going to hit a lot of refractors, you're going to hit some number cards, you might hit some autographs, some very nice stuff. And again, having the time that you do till January before your store opens, you're able to take that stuff in, you're able to sort it. You're going to have some $1 box cards, you have some $5 box cards, you have some $20 box cards, you have cards you can send it grading, and you got time to get it graded. So when it comes back in January, it's freshly graded, it's out of Chrome. And that's just one example. I just think, again, if you are smart about your purchasing, and again, this is why I think breaking is like poker to me. Anybody can play, but only certain people are good at it. Okay. Anybody can get in a break. And I hear this all the time. Well, I've been in 1 or 2 breaks. I got in a break. I had a good time to break, or I didn't do really well, or I got a really good card, never got breaks again. I look at breaking like a strategy. It is part of my routine. And I'll talk more about this in the future, but what I have in front of me right now, I'll pull this forward for you. Our stacks and stacks. I got over 100 cards here from my Monopoly breaks that I got into. I'm just going to flash it. This is my Jabari, cards, right? These are some Jabaris. Here's a Spur rookie. I think this guy's name. What's his name? Malaki. Here's a Chet. The reason I'm showing you all this is that what I did this summer, I felt like Prizm Basketball was a phenomenal product as far as its hits value. There were 3 teams that had 2 rookies that are in the top 10 rookies in the draft class. So again, I'm thinking long term here. I don't think Malaki is going to be a hit right away. He could be hit 2 or 3 years from now. But I just built a large inventory of graded rookie cards that my average cost, okay, when I spent money buying into the breaks, and I'll just give you some random numbers here. These are not exactly the same, but they're relatively accurate. $4,000 purchasing breaks. Another $4,000 in fees, shipping, grading, etc., preparing, value adding. Okay, so 4,000, 200 cards. Yeah, that gave me 200 cards that I consider quality basketball cards. Now, some of them are base, fewer base. Some of them are shiny refractors. I have some to 50, some to 5, some to 10. I got some short prints. I got some money cards. I got some color blasts. I got 3 color blasts out of that. All that inventory came to me raw. And then I've got all the base cards that I got in that raw. I sold some of those on ComC. I've sold some of them on eBay. But out of that $8,000? Let me do the math again. Was it 2,000, 4,000, 6,000? Oh, that's what it is, 6,000. My average cost of a card, I want to say, is about $60 a card. And again, I'm doing this on the flyer. I forgot to bring my little cheat sheet up here, but 4,800 divided by two. Yeah, so $8,000 invested divided by 200 finished cards. I want to say, I have it in front of me right now. I think that's roughly 40 or 60 bucks a card. Let's say 50 bucks a card. Is that good or not? I don't know. Is this card worth 50 bucks? 60 bucks? I think it is. But the reason I'm telling you this gives me an inventory that I now can sell it at that price. Some of these cards will go for a lot more. Some of them will go for $1,000 bucks, 500 bucks. Some will go for less, 20 bucks, 15 bucks. They won't go for zero though, right? They're all graded rookie cards. When the player has a moment, somebody will pay for it. This to me is a much better system. And it's how I'm doing cards today. It's how I've been doing cards for years. It is something that I know others do as well. And I don't know. I don't know if I want more people to do it or not, because I kind of like the way I'm doing it. But I thought I'd share with you. That's what I'm doing in the hobby. And I'm using Mascot, right? I spent Mascot. I got in front of me 128 slabs that are on my Mascot app. They're all recently graded from PSA. All PSA, baby. I don't use anybody else. Some of them I might even recrack, right? Some of them I got grades on. I'm like, well, I think I might recrack this one. I mean, here's one of the ones I want to recrack. Where did that one go? I can't find it now, but that's what I'm doing in the hobby. Well, I hope you like this edition of the hobby now. We'll try to podcast this one. Hope to be back out next week, midweek. Holidays, though, are here, so might be December, January before we're on a regular cadence. Got a lot of other content coming out as well. I'm gonna do a video on my Mascot, how to use Mascots coming out. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate the feedback. Thank you for watching, and thank you for sharing. Have a great day. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Golden rule.